Hello everybody, my name's Eagle. I'm the creator, uh, artist, writer, chief cat herder, publisher, editor at No Earth Comics. And we're going to be answering a very simple question today that's got a lot of different answers. But it's, what is No Earth? And No Earth was an attempt on my part to start a comic book company that wasn't the standard run-of-the-mill comic book company, and that would create something new and original, and at the same time would not fall into the same pitfalls and traps that other comic book companies have fallen into. So part of how we frame No Earth is in the positive, in this is what we do, and part of how we frame No Earth is in the negative, as in this is what we do not do. So be prepared for that as we go through this. If you've got any questions while I'm explaining all this, feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer them. So, one of the first things that No Earth attempts to address is a lot of the things that are wrong with comics today. And we're going to go over a few of these briefly. I will do more videos later on the specific problems and why these are things that drive us as a company. But let's start with the simple thing of we are a connected universe, but we don't require you to read anything in that universe that you don't want to read. We don't have big crossover events that require you to pick up other titles in order to keep up with the story. On that same thing, we're not going to all of a sudden at the end of an issue, it's a cliffhanger for the next issue, and when you pick up the next issue, what you get is, oh, please go read these 7 issues to pick up what you missed, because all of a sudden people are dead. People are wearing different costumes, different power sets, and you don't know what happened. And it's frustrating. So that was part of it. The event fatigue, the political agendas that some of the bigger companies are pushing. That's not necessary for you to enjoy comics. While comics have been political and social since their inception, there is no reason to use comics as a bully pulpit to beat you over the head with a particular point of view. Comics should be more like traditional science fiction and traditional fantasy in the fact that they allow us to explore these issues, not to dictate to you what you're supposed to think. Retcons. Retcons are a big thing that we wanted to avoid because it's absolutely frustrating to come back into comics after a 5-year gap, or even having just missed 4 or 5 issues, and all of a sudden all of the knowledge that you've built up over how this particular comic universe works is now useless because there's been a major retcon. All of a sudden somebody decided that a particular couple wasn't married, or all of a sudden somebody decided to reboot the entire universe so that they could combine some of their splinter universes that weren't selling as well. All of these things are very frustrating to comic book fans, and we're not going to do those. Also, we have an advancing universe. So we have a specific calendar, we have specific date. Characters will age, characters will die, characters will be replaced, characters will be reborn, characters will be, changes that happen to the character will affect the character status quo. It will not simply be a case of this change happens for 6 months and then we go back to the status quo. This is also very frustrating for comic book fans in the fact that you passed your mantle on to somebody. Let them have it. So these are all things that the other comic book companies have done that have frustrated myself and other fans that I talk to on a regular basis. All you need to do is look at the current list of comic book sales and see how far some companies have plummeted in their sales figures to understand that I am not alone in this. This is something that other people feel as well. So this was the negativity that led to the creation of No Earth. The positivity that led to the creation of No Earth was that we wanted a place where creators would be welcome to create. And so what this evolved into was a co-op. And that means cooperative. And what we're doing is we're setting up a way for creators to own shares in the company. And they get those shares based on the amount of work that they have produced for the company. Those shares pay on a monthly basis. So this is similar to royalties, except that this, unlike normal royalties where your payment is based on how much your particular product is selling, this is based on how much the company is selling. Because I firmly believe that the creators build the company. Without the creators, there is no company. And you have to make them a part of it. You have to make them understand that this is their company as well. So the idea is, as each creator contributes writing, artwork, editing, whatever, that they accumulate shares in the company, and that these shares pay on a monthly basis. Okay, they don't pay much. Right now they're paying beer money at best, and that's only for our top creators. But that as the company grows, so does the value of their shares. And so this gives them an incentive to help the company grow. This gives them an incentive to help do things that make the company more viable. So one of the things that we get asked on a regular basis is why you don't do page rates. And the reason we don't do page rates is because page rates mean that we own what you produced. No royalties, no shared IP, nothing like that. We own what the creator produced. And we don't want to do that type of company. In our company, the creators are still going to retain most of their IP rights. And they're going to gain some IP rights that they wouldn't have normally gained. And I'll go into that in a moment. So with a co-op, what we're trying to do is cooperate. We're trying to come together as a group of creators, leave the egos and the prima donna BS at the door, and create something that is greater together than it ever would have been on an individual basis. So the next thing that we are that's a little different is a shared universe. And by this, a lot of people have a very wrong idea of what a shared universe is these days. They look at, for instance, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and think that that's a shared universe, and it's not. What that is a common universe. This is a universe that different people create in, but that universe has hard and fast rules and limits, and it has a number of stop guards to keep people from going out of bounds on the universe. What we have is an actual shared universe in the fact that the creators are helping create that universe. All we've got is a framework for the universe, and as each creator comes in and starts doing their individual book, they start filling in aspects of that universe. And what they fill in becomes canon, and it becomes something that is theirs. It becomes something that they will forever have the bragging rights on. I did that. And this is something that the universe is going to change as we get more creators involved and as we get more people going along trying to help advance this entire concept. One of the things we've got is that when you're using other people's characters, you can use them, but you can't use them up. In other words, there will be no one writer gets to use another writer's characters and fundamentally change that character without the creator's permission. So instead of this being coming from a corporate on high, controlling all of the various aspects of the universe, instead this becomes the creators working together to control this universe. So if I take the character that I've created of Mary Sue Beerbaum and somebody else wants to use her, they're perfectly free to use her. We just need to make sure that it works with her personal calendar so that it's happening at a point in time when she's not doing something in her main comic. And we do maintain a calendar for all of the books. This is why the books have specific dates in the timestamps. But this other writer can then use her in their book as long as they don't fundamentally change her. In other words, they can't kill her, obviously. They can't cripple her. They can't chop off a hand. They can't change her race. They can't change her sexual orientation. They can't change anything that is fundamentally her without my express permission. And depending on the story, I'll probably give it. But this is something very important because it means that when you create a character in the No Earth world, you're creating a legacy. Next comes the IP rights. And this is something that's very important to us. The world itself is going to have a very loose license because I'm wanting to encourage the creators to let loose. I'm wanting to encourage them to have fun with this and to enjoy what they're doing. The creator is going to have a license to use No Earth in other stories involving that character that they choose to tell outside of No Earth's publishing umbrella. In other words, if they choose to write a short story and submit it to a science fiction magazine, they're perfectly free to do so, and they can use whatever aspects of No Earth's IP that they need to use in order to convey that story. And this is not unprecedented in publishing because there's been a couple of anthologies that did it previous to us, but it is unprecedented in the comic book world. The other thing about that is once you have created a character for No Earth, we have the rights to use that character as long as we don't fundamentally alter it. So it's a dual license. You get to use the world in whatever endeavors that you're going into as a creator, and we get to use the character in the world, but we're not going to abuse the character. So even if we part ways, the creator still has their rights and we still have our rights. What I was saying earlier about the overlapping stories, about crossovers, we're going to handle crossovers a little bit differently. If we tell a crossover, we're going to tell it from two different points of view. For instance, if a character from book A crosses over into book B, we will tell that story in both books. We will tell that story from the unique points of view of that particular book. So we're not going to get the whole story in book B that we got in book A. We're not going to get the whole story in book A that we got in book B. But they will be complete stories. You won't need to read either book. Well, you won't need to read the other book if you're a fan of the first book. But if you do, it will enhance your experience. It is not a necessary part of the experience, but it will enhance it. It will make it more fun for you as a reader, even if that issue is the only issue that you read. But it's not going to be a requirement. It's not going to be something that we are forcing you to do as a company because, let's face it, that's extortion. If you are having to go pick up 5 additional issues for a title to understand a title that you follow regularly, you are being extorted. We're not going to do it. And then comes the whole concept of welcoming creators. That's what we're wanting. We're wanting creators who enjoy comics. Let's face it, we're not getting rich doing this. But what we are doing is trying to break into an industry that is insular, that blacklists people on a regular basis, and that makes it as difficult as possible for people to succeed. And we're following our own path, but we're doing it in such a way that the creators are going to have published books to point to and say, yes, I completed a book. Look, there it is, right there on the shelf. I completed a book. Look at my work now. And this is very important to creators. So what we're looking for is particular types of creators. We're looking for people that enjoy telling stories. We're not looking for people that enjoy putting up books of pretty pictures. We're looking for people that want to tell a story, deep, involved stories, stories that address what people want to read in any type of literature, not just comics. So we're not going to take stories that just follow comic book cliches. We're not going to take stories where the characters are nothing but analogs for DC or Marvel characters. We're not going to take stories that tell things on an epic galactic scale. We're looking for creators that want to tell small stories against a large backdrop, and we're providing a fantastic backdrop for them to tell stories against. But we want small stories. We want stories that affect people, stories that make people happy, make people sad, make people whatever, but stories that affect people, stories that make people want to pick up the next issue and read it. More importantly, make people want to pick up other books from the company and read them, because we want to attract readers that not just follow a particular genre or a particular character, but follow the type of in-depth storytelling that we're doing. The non-decompressed storytelling. The storytelling that actually has a beginning, a middle, and an end in each issue, even if that issue is part of a 6-issue arc. Stories that actually make people read them, look at the artwork, that give them more than a 5-minute burst of art. Because I can't tell you how many times I've picked up a comic, read it in 5 minutes, and wondered where the rest of the story was. So that's what we're after. We're after stories. We're after people who want to not just write. We're after artists that want to tell the detailed stories, that don't want to tell the entire issue in 6 splash pages, but want to actually do the facial expressions, the details, the ways of making the reader enjoy the words as much as the words make the reader enjoy the art. We're looking for that seamless, happy marriage of words and art, of story and visual, of a way to bring people into comics that aren't normally comics readers. Because this is one of the greatest mediums in the world, and so many people think that it's a silly medium. So many people think that it's a medium that doesn't express deep emotion, that doesn't express complicated storytelling, that doesn't express character arcs or anything like this, because they think that we are the stereotypes that they've been dealing with for the last 40 years. And so as a company, we're wanting to break beyond that. We're wanting to make sure that people understand that this is a storytelling medium. We don't have a special effects budget. Whatever the artist can draw, that appears. We don't have to hire a bunch of extras for a crowd scene. We don't have to get permission to film somewhere. The writer and the artist working together produce a comic that is art. It's not illustration, it's art. And that's where we're wanting to go as a company. That's where we're wanting to go with creators. So that's just a brief overview. I'm going to wind up doing some additional videos on some of the specific points because all I did was gloss over things here. But this video is going to wind up being the overview. So if you haven't already done so, be sure you check out our website at noearth.com. That is no-earth.com. And I will be putting a link to that in the description. And I'll also be putting a link to the collaborators page in the description so that you'll be able to go directly to the part that interests you if you're a creator. Other than that, we've got more videos coming. It's good to talk to you, and thank you very much.